I didn't even know what day it was when I first saw her. My ribs were wrapped so tight I could barely breathe, and there was this metallic taste in my mouth from all the meds. I remember waking up to fluorescent lights, a buzzing fan, and the sound of someone humming. Then I felt a hand on my forehead. "You're burning up, sir. Just rest, okay?" That voice didn't sound like the others. Softer, less tired. I turned my head a little, and there she was. Small, kind eyes, wearing a mask, but I could still tell she was smiling underneath. "You're American?" she asked, adjusting my IV like she'd done it 1,000 times. "Yeah," I mumbled. "Or what's left of one." She laughed a little. "You had surgery 2 days ago. You don't remember?" I shook my head, winced. "Everything hurt. You had a fall, back injury. The doctor said no spine damage, but you need to rest. No walking yet. What's your name?" "Celina." "I'm not your nurse, actually. I'm just helping out." "Volunteering?" "Something like that." I tried to sit up a bit, failed miserably. She leaned in and tucked another pillow under me without asking. That was the first time I felt her hands. Careful, warm, confident. I remember thinking how long it had been since someone touched me like I mattered. That night, I asked her if she'd stay a little longer. She didn't even hesitate. "I finish shift soon, I'll come back." She did. Every night after that, she'd show up. Sometimes with soup, sometimes with those little Pandan cakes I pretended not to like, but always finished. "You don't have to keep doing this," I said once. Half embarrassed, half scared she'd stop. "I know," she said, pulling the curtain closed. "But you look like someone who doesn't ask for help even when he needs it." She wasn't wrong. I'd spent most of my adult life pretending I was fine. Even after my wife left. Even after my son stopped calling. Even after I moved here. Thinking palm trees and cheap rent would fix whatever was broken inside. They didn't. But Celina made it easier to breathe. "Can I ask something?" I said one evening, watching her peel an orange like she'd done it for a child. "Of course." "Why are you really here?" She tilted her head. "You want honest?" "Yeah. I got assigned to a different floor, but you looked, I don't know, sad, like someone who needed someone. I don't know why, I just felt like staying. I must have looked pathetic. No, just lonely." I didn't say anything after that. Didn't need to. She handed me a slice of orange and we watched the fan spin for a while. A few days later, I was discharged. I thought that would be the end of it. "Do you have someone to help you at home?" she asked, walking me to the car. "Not really." "Then give me your number, just in case." "You sure?" "Just in case," she said again, smiling. The next day she texted, "Did you eat today?" I hadn't. She showed up that afternoon with rice and vegetables and a plastic bag of instant coffee packets. "Hospital coffee is better than nothing," she said, laughing. "I should pay you for this," I told her. She waved it off. "I'm not doing this for money." I didn't know what to say to that. It wasn't romantic, not at first. She called Lisa for a while, but I noticed she sat a little closer each time. She stayed longer. She asked about my family, my ex-wife, my regrets. I told her things I hadn't told anyone, about the drinking, the fights, the silence that grew. In my house like mold, she didn't flinch, just listened, nodded, handed me another cup of that bitter coffee. "You ever been married?" I asked her one evening. She shrugged. "Not yet. Too busy taking care of other people." "You shouldn't waste your time on someone like me." "Maybe I like you," she said. "Why?" "Because you say thank you every time I hand you water." I smiled. "That's all it takes." "Sometimes, yeah." That night after she left, I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. My back still ached, my legs still shook, but my chest, it felt warm. Not from the meds, from something else. I didn't think it was love, not then, but it was something I hadn't felt in years. Comfort, and God, I needed that more than anything. She started calling every morning like clockwork. "Did you eat already? How's your back today? Want me to bring lunch?" I'd say no sometimes, just out of habit, but she'd show up anyway, holding a paper bag of rice and fried egg like it was nothing. I remember asking once, "You don't get tired of taking care of an old man like me?" She laughed and said, "I get tired of you saying that." At first it felt like kindness, just kindness, but then she started staying longer. She'd clean my dishes without asking, fold my shirts when I wasn't looking, sit by my side while I watched those old detective shows on my laptop. One afternoon, I noticed her watching me instead of the screen. I asked her, "What?" And she said, "Nothing. You just look peaceful." I hadn't been called peaceful in a long time. We walked a lot back then. She'd hold my arm gently, not like a nurse, more like a date who didn't want to admit it yet. We'd stop for iced coffee near the old pier and sit in silence. I liked those silences more than I ever liked most conversations in my life. "You think your son will visit you here?" she asked one day, unwrapping a mango. "I doubt it. Why not? He stopped talking to me after the divorce, said I gave up on everything. Maybe I did." She peeled the mango with her fingers, handed me a piece. "But you're trying now, right?" I chewed in silence, nodded. "I guess I am." Later that night, I was trying to stand from the bed and winced. She rushed over. Don't. Let me." She helped me lie back down, then sat on the edge of the mattress and wiped sweat from my forehead. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just taking care of me. She was making sure I didn't have to ask for anything. "You don't have to do this, Celina. I want to." "Why?" "Because when I'm with you, I feel calm. Safe." That word. Safe. I hadn't felt it in years. She stood to leave, but paused at the door. "Good night, sir." "Don't call me sir," I said. "What should I call you?" "Michael," she smiled. "Good night, Michael." The next morning she showed up early, carrying a cheap guitar. "I used to play," she said. "Want to hear?" I nodded. She played a little, off-key, but something about it made the room feel lighter. She laughed at herself. "Terrible, right?" "Beautiful," I said. That evening I made her dinner, or tried to. Burnt rice, overcooked fish. She pretended it was perfect. "Celina," I said, "do you ever think about staying?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "Do you want me to?" I swallowed. "I do." She came back the next night with a small pink suitcase. "Just clothes. Nothing else." She unpacked while I sat there watching, wondering if this was real. "Are you sure?" I asked. She zipped the suitcase shut and smiled. "You need me." That hit hard, not because it wasn't true, but because it was. From then on, she started calling me babe when we were alone. Quietly at first, then louder, publicly. "Babe. You want coffee? Babe, don't forget your pills. Babe, come nap with me." I told myself not to get used to it, but I did. One night I asked her, "What do you see when you look at me?" She paused. "Someone who's been through hell but still has a heart." I felt my throat tighten. "You make me feel human again," I said. "You are human." I wasn't. Not for a while. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "You're not alone anymore." That night I cried when she fell asleep beside me, quietly so she wouldn't hear. Because a part of me knew I hadn't cried in years, and now I couldn't stop. She held me in her sleep, light but firm, like she knew I'd try to slip away. I didn't. I stayed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like dying. "I'm sorry about the call dropping, babe. My phone's dying again," she said, holding up that old cracked screen Nokia like it had been through war. I looked at it, then at her, and said, "Why don't we get you a new one?" She smiled, tilted her head like she didn't expect that. "You sure?" I nodded. "Yeah. You're always checking on me, calling, helping out. It's the least I can do." We were eating breakfast at that tiny shop near the market. She reached over, touched my hand, and said, "You're too kind sometimes." That line stayed with me. The phone turned into a fridge. "Mama's fridge is broken," she said one night while folding my laundry. "She keeps putting ice in a cooler." I didn't say anything at first, just kept watching the fan spin on the ceiling. "We'll go look at fridges tomorrow," I said finally. She looked surprised, like she hadn't expected me to offer. But part of me wondered if she had. "You'd really do that for her?" she asked. I nodded. "She raised you, that makes her important." That night she curled into me like I was the safest place on earth. 2 weeks later, we were on the back of a tricycle hauling a fridge half the size of the cart. "She cried when she saw it," Celina said, leaning into my shoulder. "Said no one's ever done that for her." I didn't ask if that was true. I wanted it to be. A few days after that, it was her brother. He lost his job, can't afford to go to interviews. His bike's broken. I stirred my coffee, said nothing. I know we've done a lot already, she added. It's just hard, one thing after another. I looked at her, tired eyes, nails bitten short, voice just a little shaky. He's your brother, I said. We'll figure it out. We went to a scooter lot that afternoon. Cheap models, loud engines, scratched paint. She picked one in red. He'll love this, she said. I handed over the cash without thinking twice. By the end of that month, I'd spent more than I had in the last 6. And I didn't feel angry. I felt useful. That scared me more than the money. You don't have to keep buying things, she told me one night. I'm not with you for that. I asked her, then why are you with me? She sat up in bed, pulled the sheet around her. Because when you look at me, I don't feel small, I feel seen. I believed her. I needed to. Later, when I checked my bank app, I flinched. I'd told myself I'd only spend a little. That helping her family was part of loving her. But the numbers didn't lie. Rent, groceries, bills, all mine now. Still, when I tried to bring it up, I backed out. Babe, we okay money-wise? She asked one morning, holding her new phone up to show me a photo of her and her mom beside the fridge. Yeah, I lied. We're fine. She kissed my forehead and said, You're such a blessing. But little things started piling up. Her aunt needed medicine. Her cousin needed help with tuition. A neighbor asked her to borrow, and somehow it became our responsibility. Every time I tried to pause, she'd say, It's okay. We don't have to. I'll just figure something out. That line, I'll figure something out, felt like a dagger wrapped in a rose. Because it worked, every single time. I'd say, No, I've got it. And I did. Until I didn't. I started avoiding looking at my bank account. I stopped calling my financial advisor back. I told myself it was temporary, that one day soon we'd be stable. That love came with sacrifice. I'd been selfish most of my life. Maybe this was my time to give. One night I asked her, What would you do if I couldn't give anymore? She looked at me for a long second and said, Then we'd just have each other. I wanted to believe it, God I did, but a voice in my head, one I hadn't listened to in years, whispered, You're not giving because you're generous. You're giving because you're scared. Scared she'd leave. Scared she wouldn't look at me the same. Scared that without the help I wasn't enough. Still I didn't stop. Not then. Not yet. I just told myself the same thing I always did. She's family now. I wanted it to be a surprise. I told her I had errands, but really, I'd reserved a table at the little bar she always talked about. Nothing fancy, just the one with the string lights and the off-key karaoke that made her laugh. I even brought a cake, asked the staff to hide it in the back. When I stepped in, I scanned the room, expecting her to be at a corner table with her friends, maybe sipping a Coke and waiting for me. What I didn't expect was the crowd surrounding her on the dance floor, or the guy whose hands were way too comfortable on her waist. I froze near the door. She hadn't seen me yet. She was laughing, her head tilted back, hair swinging over her shoulders like she didn't have a care in the world. The guy spun her around, held her close, whispered something in her ear. She didn't flinch, didn't move away, and everyone around them looked like they'd seen this before, like I was the only one out of place. Then she saw me. She didn't even flinch. Babe, she shouted, waving me over like I was late to a family barbecue. The music was loud, her voice louder. Come here. I walked over slowly, still holding the gift bag like an idiot. Happy birthday, I said, barely able to get it out. She took the bag with one hand and put the other on the guy's shoulder. This is my cousin, Gerald. The guy smirked and nodded at me. Nice to meet you, sir. I didn't shake his hand. I couldn't. I just stood there, trying to smile. You two seem close, Celina laughed. Don't be silly. We grew up together. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But something in my chest twisted. I handed her the cake slip and said, They've got your cake in the back. Oh, babe, she said, pulling me in for a kiss on the cheek. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Gerald looked at her, then at me. I'll grab us drinks, he said. When he walked away, I leaned in. Why didn't you tell me he was coming? He just showed up. I didn't even know he was in Cebu. I stared at her. You seemed comfortable. She pulled me close. You're jealous. I said nothing. Don't be, she whispered. You're the one I go home with. I wish that had comforted me. It didn't. Later that night back at the guest house, she was quiet. She sat on the bed, scrolling her phone, fingers moving too fast. I sat at the table staring at my untouched slice of cake. I finally asked, You danced with him like that when I wasn't around? She looked up. What are you saying? I'm asking, she stood, arms crossed. I can't believe you don't trust me. I'm trying, but I saw the way he touched you. He's my cousin. You didn't move his hands. She walked to the window, back turned. You think I'd cheat on you at my own birthday party? In public? I don't know what to think, she turned, eyes glassy. You embarrassed me tonight. I didn't say anything there. But you're saying it now, and it hurts. I stood up. I'm sorry, She cut me off. You don't think I've had people doubt me my whole life, and now you too. I stepped toward her. Celina, I stayed with you when you couldn't walk. I fed you. I moved in with you. And you think I'd throw that away for some stupid fling? I didn't say that. But you thought it. I didn't know what to say. I felt like a child being scolded for something I barely understood. She wiped her eyes, climbed into bed, turned away from me. I don't even want to fight, just sleep. I stood there for a while, then finally crawled in beside her. She didn't touch me. She didn't speak. But I heard her sniffle. A small sound, but loud enough to slice me in half. I'm sorry, I whispered. She didn't answer. I lay there staring at the ceiling, guilt tightening my chest. I wanted to believe her. I wanted it to be true, that it was just a cousin, that I was overthinking, that I hadn't seen what I saw. But in the dark, I couldn't unsee it. Her smile, his hands, the way the crowd looked at me. Still, I pulled the blanket over her shoulder and told myself it was love. That's what love does, right? Forgives, even when it shouldn't. It started small, subtle. A kiss when I handed her grocery money. Her soft, thank you, babe, when I paid the rent early. I didn't think much of it at first. We lived together. We shared a life. That's what couples did. But it kept happening. Her touch felt timed. Her smile felt earned, like a tip you give after good service. One night I asked her, would you still love me if I couldn't provide anymore? She looked up from her phone, blinked twice, then laughed. Don't say that. You're doing fine. That wasn't the answer I wanted. The next week, her cousin, Gerald again, showed up at the gate. I watched him walk in like he owned the place. He just needs to talk, she said. He's embarrassed. I sat at the table, arms crossed. Gerald nodded at me. Uncle, it's hard now, my job gone. I just need small help to get back on feet. Celina put her hand on his back. Just for now, she said. He's not asking for much. I looked at both of them. How much is not much? He hesitated. 10,000 pesos, maybe 12. I looked at Celina. She didn't blink. I pulled out my wallet. After he left, I asked, does he always come to you for money? She shrugged. Family does that. I pressed, does he ever pay you back? You wouldn't understand, she said, eyes on her nails. It's different here. That was her favorite line when she didn't want to explain, and maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't understand. But I understood the feeling growing in my chest, like I'd just paid for something I couldn't name. One afternoon I overheard her on the phone, Tagalog, fast and sharp. She was laughing, high-pitched and unfiltered, like she hadn't laughed that way in weeks. I stepped closer. She saw me and turned away. You're always listening, she snapped when she hung up. I live here, I said. Who was that? Friend, she muttered. You wouldn't know him. What were you laughing about? She rolled her eyes. It's just jokes. You always think everything's about you. I tried to believe her, but her tone was colder lately. She used to ask how I slept. Now she just got up, checked her phone, and left the room. You okay? I asked one morning. Yeah, just tired, she replied, not looking up. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. Don't start. I'm not in the mood. I stared at the ceiling after she walked out. That voice in my head, the one I kept pushing down, was getting louder. That night I sat on the edge of the bed. "Celina, can we talk?" "About what?" she said, not even glancing up. "About us," she sighed. "Always drama." "No, just honesty." She turned to me. "Then be honest, what's bothering you?" I took a breath. "I feel like I'm not your partner. I feel like I'm your sponsor." Her face didn't move. "That's insulting," she said. "Is it true?" "If that's how you see me, maybe you're the one with the issue." My hands trembled. "You only touch me when I give you something. Money, gifts, favors." "That's not fair," she said. "You think I don't care? Do you?" I whispered. She stood, grabbed her bag. "I'm going out." "Where?" I asked. "With friends." "Which ones?" "Why do you need to know everything?" she snapped. "Because I'm the one paying for everything," I shouted. She stopped. "Then maybe stop," she said, eyes cold. "See what happens." She left. I sat in silence. The fan creaked above me. The walls felt too quiet. I thought about our first walk, our first kiss, her wiping sweat off my forehead after my surgery. Had that all been real, or just a performance until she moved in? I got up, opened the drawer, pulled out the receipts. The fridge, the scooter, the phone, the cash, I stacked them. Stared at the pile, stared at what I'd become. I was a provider, not a partner. A wallet with a heartbeat. The next morning, she walked in like nothing happened. "Want breakfast?" she asked. "Are you serious?" I said. She looked confused. "What now?" "Last night. I was with friends. You threatened to leave." "Because you were being cruel." I shook my head. "Or honest?" She didn't answer. We sat in silence. She poured coffee for herself, none for me. I watched her sip it slowly, like she earned peace by surviving my questions. I wanted to yell, to beg, to ask her why she changed, but I didn't. I just whispered, "Do you even love me?" She stared at the floor. Then she said it. Quiet, emotionless. "I don't know." That answer broke me more than any lie ever could. She told me she'd be gone for the weekend. "My aunt's not well," she said, zipping up that same pink suitcase she brought the first night she moved in. "She needs help with errands." I asked if she wanted me to come. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "You'd be bored. I'll be back Sunday, okay?" It was Friday morning. By Saturday night, I hadn't heard a word. No text. No missed calls. I messaged her once. "How's your aunt?" No reply. By Sunday evening, I messaged again. "Everything okay?" Nothing. Monday morning, I called. Straight to voicemail. I told myself her battery died. Told myself the signal was bad. Told myself anything but the truth I already felt crawling up my spine. By Tuesday, I started calling hospitals. I didn't tell them why. Just asked if someone named Celina had been admitted. They all said no. I tried her friends. Well, the ones she mentioned. One girl replied, "Sorry, don't know where she is." Another didn't even open the message. I stared at the wall that night, watching the fan blades spin. Her side of the bed was untouched. Wednesday morning, I drove to her aunt's barangay. It was a long shot, but I needed something, anything. I knocked on the door, and an older woman opened it. "Is Celina here?" I asked. She looked confused. "Celina?" I repeated. She shook her head. "She not here. Maybe another day." She closed the door slowly. I stood there for a minute, then walked back to the car, gripping the steering wheel like it might anchor me to something real. Thursday, I didn't leave the room. I sat with her robe in my hands, still smelling like her. That cheap jasmine perfume, I kept refreshing her Facebook. Still nothing new. Friday morning, I opened her profile again, and there it was, a new photo, posted 1 hour ago. She was at a beach resort. Blue water, white sand, sunglasses on, drink in hand, and next to her, smiling, was a man I'd never seen. Younger, shirtless, his arm around her waist. I didn't blink. Didn't breathe, I just stared. She wasn't tagged, no caption, just emojis. But I knew that smile, that carefree smile. The same one she gave me when I bought her the fridge. The same one when we walked the pier. It wasn't mine anymore. Maybe it never was. I didn't comment, didn't message. What would I say? That I loved her, that I paid her brother's debt, that I kissed her scars and called them beautiful. I just sat there, watching the screen glow in the dark room. The fan spun above me, and for the first time, I wished it would fall. By Saturday, the silence hurt more than the truth. She didn't text, didn't call, she didn't lie to me, she just erased me. That morning I threw out her shampoo, her toothbrush, the cheap red sandals she always tripped in. I placed her photos in a drawer, shut it, and told myself I wouldn't open it again. I lied. I spent Sunday walking the neighborhood, not really seeing anything. Kids played by the roadside. A dog barked at nothing. I sat at a bench near the church and listened to the bells. I whispered, "What did I do wrong?" to no one. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But mostly, I wanted her to tell me it wasn't real, that the photo was old. The man was just a friend, that she still loved me. But even if she had said that, I wouldn't have believed it. Not anymore. That night I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the empty space beside me. 7 days ago she had kissed me goodbye, told me she'd be back Sunday, and I believed her. I never felt so stupid in my life. I didn't leave the room for 7 days. Not to eat, not to walk, not to breathe fresh air. I just sat there with the fan ticking above me and the sound of the street creeping through the thin guest house walls. Her side of the bed stayed untouched. I didn't move the pillow, I didn't change the sheets, I didn't even touch the shampoo she left behind. Every morning I'd wake up hoping there'd be a message. Every night I'd fall asleep telling myself it was better this way. Both were lies. I didn't cry. I wanted to. I needed to. But nothing came, just silence and shame. I replayed it all in my head, her hand in mine, her whispering, "I'm yours," her asking for nothing, then everything. The moment I first saw her, the moment I stopped seeing myself, I kept asking, why? But the answer never changed, because I wanted to believe someone could want me again. By the 8th morning I stood. My legs shook, my back screamed. I reached for the cane tucked near the nightstand and gripped it harder than usual. "We're done," I whispered out loud. "She's not coming back." It sounded fake, weak, but it was the only truth I had left. I opened the closet and pulled out my suitcase. I folded my shirt slowly, methodically, like each crease could undo what I'd been through. I paused at her red blouse, the one she wore when we danced in the rain. I didn't pack it. I didn't toss it either. I left it hanging, like a ghost. Downstairs, the guest house manager looked up. "You checking out?" she asked. I nodded. "Where will you go?" "Somewhere quieter," I said. She handed me my deposit. "You okay?" I stared at her for a second. Eventually, the street felt louder than I remembered. Kids ran past with plastic toys. A vendor shouted about mangoes. A jeepney honked like it had something to prove. I moved slowly, cane tapping the ground, like a metronome. I didn't know where I was going, I just knew I had to keep walking. If I stayed, I'd cave, I'd message her. I'd say I forgive you. I'd offer to start over. I couldn't afford that. I stopped near a bakery and sat on a plastic chair in the shade. A man next to me looked up. "Hot day," he said. I nodded. "Too hot." He looked at my cane. "Back injury?" "Worse," I said. He didn't ask what I meant, just nodded and sipped his soda. A boy ran by, laughing. I watched him disappear into an alley, free, unaware. I used to be like that, before the need to be wanted twisted into something else. Before I mistook comfort for connection, before I paid for affection in installments I couldn't afford, I stared at the dirt on my shoes. "How did I let this happen?" I muttered. No one answered. I didn't expect them to. This wasn't the kind of story you tell in a bar. This was the kind you bury deep, under layers of pride and half-finished excuses. I took a deep breath and stood again. My body ached. My heart didn't know what to feel. But my feet moved, and for the first time in weeks they were moving away from her. Not toward healing. Not yet. But at least they weren't walking in circles anymore. I hadn't planned on seeing her again. That was the deal I made with myself after I left the guest house. No messages, no calls, no wandering near her street. I kept my head down, booked a small room by the edge of town and spent my days doing nothing, just waiting out the clock till my flight. 7 days left. That's all I had to get through. Then I'd be on a plane with a broken heart and one suitcase full of mistakes. I went to the pharmacy for pain pills. My back had started acting up again from all the walking. I stood in line behind a woman with a baby and an old man arguing over cough syrup. I wasn't really listening, just staring at the rows of colorful bottles when I heard it, her voice. "Do you have the pink one, the one for migraines?" I turned slowly. She was standing a few feet away, hair tied up, flip-flops. The same voice I used to fall asleep to. She hadn't seen me yet. I could have turned around, I should have, but I didn't. She caught my eye, didn't flinch, just smiled. "Oh," she said. "Hey." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. "You okay?" she asked, like we hadn't just burned the whole thing to the ground. I nodded. "I'm fine." "You look good," she said. "Thanks." Silence. "You still at the guest house?" She asked. "No, I left." "Oh, okay." Another pause. "You heading back?" she asked. "In a week." She nodded slowly. "That's good. I hope it's peaceful." "It will be." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I wasn't sure if I'd see you again." "Me either." "I thought about texting," she said. "But I didn't know if it would help." It wouldn't have, she didn't argue. Just looked at the cashier and stepped forward to pay. I watched her pull bills from her pocket. The same calm, composed way she handled everything, even when she was lying. When she turned back to me, she said, "I hope there's no hard feelings." I looked her in the eyes. "There aren't." She smiled again, softer this time. "That means a lot." I wanted to ask her why she left, why she posted that photo, why she came into my life like a storm and left like a ghost. But I didn't, because I didn't need the answers anymore. "Take care of yourself," she said. "You too." Then she turned and walked out. No hug, no apology, just sandals slapping the pavement like a metronome fading into the distance. I stood there for a long time, didn't move, didn't cry. The cashier finally waved me forward. "Sir?" I paid for the pills, walked outside, and stood on the curb. The sun was hot. My shirt stuck to my back. I looked down the street, but she was gone, and for the first time I didn't feel the urge to chase her. I felt still, not healed, not whole, just still. That was the moment I knew. Not angry, not broken, just done. I didn't tell anyone. Was back. No airport pickup, no Facebook post. Just me, my cane, and 2 bags that felt heavier coming home than they did leaving. The air in California felt sharp after the humidity I'd gotten used to. The silence in my apartment felt worse. No fan buzzing, no soft slippers brushing tile, no voice calling me babe, just my own breathing. The first night, I sat in my recliner and stared at the wall. Same wall I used to stare at when I got the divorce papers, same one I stared at when my son stopped answering. This time, though, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. A week passed before anyone even noticed I was back. An old neighbor waved from her porch. "Michael, you were gone a while." "Yeah," I said. "Tried something new." She smiled. "Find what you were looking for?" I paused. "No, but I found something else." I didn't explain. I didn't need to. The hardest part was the mornings. I'd wake up reaching for her without meaning to. That muscle memory took a while to die. I'd sit at the table with just 1 coffee mug and stare at the steam, wondering how someone could vanish so cleanly. But I didn't hate her. I thought I would. I thought I'd fantasize about confronting her, exposing her, warning the next guy. But I didn't. She was a lesson, not a villain. One afternoon I got a message, unknown number, just 2 words. "You okay?" No name, no photo, but I knew. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger, out of peace. I didn't need to answer. That chapter was over. I went for walks, short ones, just to feel my legs working again. I passed a group of kids playing soccer. One of them waved. "You used to be gone," he shouted. "Now you're always here." I smiled. Feels like the first time I've really been here. At night I started writing. Not for a book, not for therapy, just to let it out. I wrote about her, about the fan above the bed, the fridge I bought, the birthday party that wasn't for me. I wrote about sitting on the floor with her slippers, in my hands, asking myself why I couldn't hate her. And then I wrote the truth. I didn't go to Southeast Asia to find love. I went because I was empty and thought someone else could fill me. I thought a smile and soft hands could fix what years of silence and regret had carved into me. But no one can give you what you won't give yourself. I kept thinking about that last day at the pharmacy. Her voice, her calm, the way she said, "I hope there's no hard feelings." And for the first time I understood what that actually meant. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for freedom. And so was I. I didn't reply to her message. Didn't stalk her page. Didn't reread old texts. I just stopped, like turning off a faucet that had been dripping for too long. The silence that followed wasn't painful. It was clean. A friend called. "You gonna date again?" he asked. "Maybe," I said, "but not because I'm lonely." "So why?" "Because I'm ready to be whole before I ask someone to hold me." He laughed. "That sounds poetic." "It's not," I said. "It's survival. My son still hasn't called. Maybe he never will." But I stopped waiting for that too. I wrote him a letter, didn't send it, just needed to write it. Told him I loved him. Told him I was sorry I disappeared long before I ever got on that plane. Told him I finally forgave myself. That was the part I never knew I needed to say. Now when I sit on the porch and sip coffee, I don't see what I lost, I see what I walked away from. A version of me that was always chasing, always apologizing, always hoping someone would see me and say, "You're enough." So I say it to myself now, this isn't for pity. I'm not telling this story because I want someone to feel bad for the old guy who got played. I'm telling it because there's someone right now looking at ticket prices and picturing smiles they haven't earned yet. Someone thinking love means saving or being saved, and maybe they need to hear what I didn't. Don't go looking for what you won't give yourself. Don't rent out your heart just to feel alive. I learned what it means to be truly alone, and I learned how to be okay with it.